Welcome. I'm so happy to see you. Let me tell you, what a year. And I really want to talk about this whole year that's gone by. As usual, I have prepared some questions for you, but I'm going to go off script. You're welcome to please come in. Thank you. Thank you. Um, but I want to go back to March of 2020. And I remember March, it was Friday the 13th when we got the call and Suzanne said, we're closed. And, of course, if you on social media, everything I read during that first month, everybody was going to rewrite Shakespeare because I believe Shakespeare wrote whatever he wrote during the plague. And everybody was finally going to read War and Peace and Anna Karenina and all these other. And you know what? If that's on your list to do it. I hope you do. And then things kind of shifted. Tell me about that first, because you're downtown, and I remember seeing a beautiful video of a kid skateboarding through downtown, and there was nobody there. And I thought of Last Man on Earth and Vincent Price and Morgan and Zombies. Tell me about how that was for you.
Well, initially, it was kind of the way I live anyway, because I'm kind of isolated from so much. A lot of people don't come to my studio unless I have an open studio where they. So for me, at the beginning, it was kind of just a normal time frame. The thing that I missed was actually going outside and doing things. So all of a sudden, I felt that I was here. But for me, the important thing is to always be creative. So for me, the time that I was spending here in my studio, I was able to create a lot of artwork, and tons, as a matter of fact. And people that I didn't quite know or entered into my life. People just curious, like, are you okay? Do you want me to take you to Target? Do you want me to go take you to shopping and stuff? So, out of that came kindness in many ways, and it was very visible. And it was kind of a charming moment. Yeah, there was death all around you. Yes, there was things going on that you had no control of. You had an insane man in office that was deadly to everybody. So now, hopefully, things will change maybe a little bit, and we can have a better future. What do you think? You're frozen in time.
Because, like you said, you and I live kind of like we're a bit of loners, right? We are social when you need to be, but pretty much we're by ourselves. I think it's safe to say. But you have this ritual where you go to the same place every day to get coffee. That's not a secret. Everybody knows. And I think they fall by on purpose and like, oh, GRONK, you're here. Of course you're here. Where else are you going to be, right? So I imagine that must have been hard for you to not have that place to go to, but you're still doing the drawings. You're still sitting there. You're doing the work every morning. It's just not there. And Tanner's not there, and the woman eating the cactus isn't there, and all those things aren't there.
The fights are not there. But I do have my courtyard. So a lot of the times I would go and have my daily ritual of coffee, something sweet with fancy jam, and a drawing. So that was kind of what I was doing at that time where it was necessary for me to just be here. But I did miss Tanner. I did miss the rituals, the coffee, the cookies, everything that was involved in those time periods. And recently, we have discovered a place that we've been going to in the downtown area and started up again those daily rituals. What I do many times is I do daily drawings. Sometimes it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could be many, many drawings in a single sit down. And the coffee, again, was part of the ritual of adding a cup of coffee to my watercolors. And so that that I was used to. But then again, like you said, we basically are loners, and I think people don't understand that for us, you as a writer, for me as an artist, we don't have somebody around us all the time. And I enjoy that because I'm able to be creative. It's kind of the act of painting to me is like speaking tongue. You're quite not sure what is coming out of you. I like the feeling of not being sure, making things that even surprise myself. So,
Yes.
so. Oh.
Now, did you ever, because I was still, we bus everywhere. When you finally did venture out onto the street downtown, it was pretty deserted, pretty boarded up, was very different. The dog walkers thankfully were off the pavement. What was it like to first kind of like go out into like a public space or get on a bus or get on the train? What did that feel like?
Well, for me, Marty, you were the one that was still traveling on public transportation. I didn't
Yes.
have transportation at all. So I still haven't caught a subway. I haven't caught.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah, no, none of those things. So I localized myself to my neighborhood down here. And whatever I needed was generally within the neighborhood. So, yeah, I mean, I got to see a lot of photographs that you took of the streets and all the action of the people that were going on and things that you kind of gravitate to, like oversized shoes and pink purses and bonnets. So I got to see that.
Guilty.
That kind of stuff you do that I really enjoy. And
Thank you.
it kept me abreast of the street life outside of my neighborhood. And I just found that my neighborhood had a lot to offer in many ways as well. What I think happened too was in my studio, the work was evolving anyway. It was changing. It was the shapes and forms became, I think, a little richer. The piece that's at now actually was done during the time of 2020. So that is part of the whole series of paintings that I was working on. And literally the whole studio was filled with work. And I have an assistant, Mr. Ed, who sometimes has to have cultural hour during the time that he works with me, which means he lies down on the sofa and watches it. And
what did you show? He was there the other day. What did he see? Was it Pasolini? What was it?
I wish. He has difficulty with subtitles, so I have to find things that don't have subtitles or they're dubbed in English. And I tell him they're in English and he believes it. So, he would come here and I would go off with him in this incredible van that he has to pick up supplies, to, just maintain the studio. And I think for me, that whole thing about people reading the books that you put aside, like War and Peace, was actually a book that I hadn't read for a long time. So I reread War and Peace. I was reading the thicker books.
You actually reread War and Peace. I love it.
Well, when I read it the first time, I didn't quite get a lot of the stuff that was going on. This time I understood it a little bit more clearly, even though sometimes you have to put it down because it does take a while to the face.
Right.
So,
what I noticed about the piece behind me, it says you added pulverized clay and clay dust to this work behind me. Is that something new for you?
Yes, I've been applying kind of what is called slip to my paintings, which is a ceramic. And it kind of gives a different texture to the surface. The piece that's there is on wood. And so you could see little kernels of the ceramic in the piece, in the painting. And I think that in the other ones that are on canvas, you could see it also. But I think each time you choose like a material to work on, the element of actually putting it together changes and becomes different. The piece you have at the museum are 4 panels put together. And originally, I had done an opera called The Indian Queen, which opened in Perm, Russia, went to Madrid, and went to London. And actually, the composer, Purcell, was in England during the time of the plague there. And for me, one of the things, and the Great Fire of London was taking place. So he decided to write this opera kind of to get himself out of the hysteria of the moment in time that he was actually composing. And so he wrote this opera about the New World without ever coming to the New World. And it's a beautiful piece. And the director, Peter Sellers, said, I hate to ask this of you, but can you do a pyramid? And I thought, I've never done a pyramid before. Oh, woe is me.
Well, that's why you have that fainting couch in your studio, just in case for moments like that.
Yes. And so I thought about it, and I said, well, what else is what can it be used for? And he goes, well, maybe for exits and entrances. I said, fine. So I did a pyramid, but it was pieces of canvas, or what they use in theater is muslin. And the piece that's at the museum is kind of like a recreation of the first level of the pyramid. And usually it is separated so that people can make entrances and exits through it. And that's 8 feet high, I believe, because I had a hard time getting it out of my studio because the elevators have not been working for about months. And we haven't been able to take artwork that's big out of the studio space unless we lower it down from the roof.
Like a piano.
And so we did the opera, and a lot of that information filtered into the paintings that I would do after that. So that is not from the opera, but it's kind of a recreation of something that was done. But again, it's all these shapes and forms that take the eye and move across the painting. And I like to say, I don't have the answers to the world's problems, nor do I try to solve it in my work. I'm an observer. I'm an observer of a moment in time. And let me share with you my observations. So those are kinds of the things that I work on with the paintings that I do.
Well, I think that comes across in the Instagram, the daily Instagram, the diary. They're like diary. Just like my photo of what I'm seeing through the bus window is a record of that moment, because it's going to be gone next week. It's going to be painted over, or it's not going to be a hair salon anymore. It's going to be a place where you can get your taxes and your divorce done at the same time. The drawings that you do.
Or 3 little piggies singing chicharron, chicharron, chicharron.
Thank you for remembering. Yes, that's poetry. They call that poetry. But when I see the drawing and then I think, okay, I see a claw. Did he watch it again? Or is he just remembering this movie? Or I see a man holding a branch. Did he watch Day of the Triffids? Or is he just remembering it again? There's a certain profile that comes up a lot in your drawings. And I say, that's Gus Harper. That's a mountain. That's the Easter Island. It's a face. I know that face.
So there's Easter Island. Yes, you're right.
Yes, right. That profile, right? So they are for me, they're very personal, I think, and for you to put them out there, these drawings out there, without trying to overread into them, or maybe overread into them just a little, but they say a lot and they don't need a fancy title. And I wanted to ask you about titles. And are titles important to the work? Do you tend to does the title come first? How do you title something after it's done?
Titles were kind of very important at the beginning when I started to do my painting. Now, I used to do painting early on as a kid. When you're in school, you're given that horrible black, which smelled like garbage, and it was tempera paint, and the smell was horrible. And the first things you would do would be perhaps on a sheet of paper. So that was my earliest beginnings and memories of becoming a visual artist. But over periods of time, the work was kind of like put aside as far as painting was concerned. And I was more interested in the performance element of art. I was interested in the more conceptually driven type of work, idea driven work. And so for many years, I was doing that kind of thing. And then in the 80s, I was actually asked to do a painting, and I could do whatever I wanted. And it was at MoCA, the Museum of Contemporary Art here in LA. And I wanted to do a painting the size of a football field, 300 feet by 30 feet, 30 feet high. And so it wrapped around inside of MoCA. And I never thought of myself as a muralist or somebody who was going to devote his life to painting. So things changed after I did that. And I thought, well, painting is, it's a physical thing if it's on a large scale. And it's very musical because your body is in motion. It is like performance in many ways. So that kind of instilled in me, like, okay, I'm going to focus in on being a painter. And I wasn't going to just be an easel. I was going to do large, and pieces would be in museums or universities. So for the past 30 years or so, I've been comfortable calling myself a painter for probably about 10 years now. Before that, I didn't think of myself. I had to learn really. Even though I did shows as a painter, the early shows had a vibrancy of color. They had almost characters, cartoon-like sensibility, always kind of having some depth to it. And the titles were important at that time. I did a whole series called The Titanic, The Bone of Contention. So all of these were stemming from having the title first and then developing a body of work. And then after that, I put that aside and concentrated on that I can do these large scale pieces and make my daily drawings, which are almost very cartoon-like still, like the earlier pieces, whereas the bigger, large paintings are dependent more on shape, form, how you react to the surface, how repeated patterns work around each other. So they were concerned with other issues. I believe in the museum, they have like these smaller pieces. And the smaller pieces have that very abstract quality to them, some, but others kind of have a portrait of a person. But also inside the face, you see a lot of shapes and forms. And so it's kind of like talking about, that those shapes and forms are around us all the time. And it's kind of on that scale, which is a smaller piece, are almost like my drawings. They have, my drawings, like you said, are biographical. They're a diary. And it's the same thing. You put down something and you try not to censor yourself as to what's going to go there. So you allow things to happen. When I'm working on a big scale, again, you're trying to create harmony. You're trying to create a beautiful piece that is about beauty. And the smaller pieces, I guess, have a more psychological component to it. But it also has, B movie references, which is like the claw, the giant claw, thrown in with swamp diamonds. So you have these combinations of things that are biographical because you grew up with those imagery,
Right.
themes, and ideas. So for me, it's important to include the things that were, that most people never took seriously, and they were taken for granted. And for me, it was always, you find the divine in the daily, just like your photography. Those women that you photograph getting on the buses. For me, I make up my own stories about them. Like
Right.
after Marisela left them. And I wrote to you one day about the fact that I had this one woman who just was a big woman that was standing up near magazines and stuff, and she was crying. And I just thought, oh my God, it's like I caught this moment, and it's very personal. So there are things like that where the camera for me is also an important thing of situating what I do daily, and it has a nice look to it.
Mm-hmm.
Use filters. Yes, I do use what the camera can do, but everything that I've been doing for the last 10 years has probably been just on my phone. And that's a record of our technology and a record of how even that camera has advanced over a period of time. And so I'm intrigued by, again, that's a daily thing that we all use. And you have to be a painter to create, something strikingly beautiful visually.
Well, I have a question here from someone out there. They are mentioning the color red. They're seeing a lot of red behind you, behind me. And what is the significance of the color red in your work?
Lipstick.
Who's Are we talking Technicolor? What were the first red lips? Tell me that story. The first time you saw lipstick Technicolor red on the big screen or the small screen.
Well, one of the things about the use of red, it's an easy color to draw a psychological sensibility to a painting.
Marnie.
Red means something. So I think, it's also kind of a primary color that has been used in time in many different cultures as a strong kind of content to a painting or a pottery. And so, red is something that I've been using quite a bit in my paintings. But I like the variations of red. It's not just one solid red. It is an orange red. It's almost a magenta red. And I'm trying to find a variety of connections, not only about painting, which a lot of my work is about, but music. I think it's like, when you listen to jazz or you listen to some sort of music, there's kind of a sensibility about color that comes into being. And I think, while music is probably the most abstract type of art form, and for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to use red, but I'm going to punctuate it with its opposite, which is going to be a blue and a green. And so you have these little punctuation marks, which are these green shapes, almost the color of a chalkboard. And there's a white line that goes through it that is reminiscent of how we grew up in elementary school and saw that chalkboard. But now I've kind of torn them apart and placed it together in the painting. And then you have these white images that go across the painting. And again, it has that sense of art, that it's all working together, even though you have this weighty color of red.
And it was the red lipstick in War of the Worlds, the original, when she screams, right?
spot.
Thank you.
Yes.
So of course I made a list of questions, and there's a couple I want to ask you, but also I have another question from one of our viewers. They would like to know if they can see more of the studio, perhaps
Again, when do you
the
want to
movie. You take us. Where shall we go? Surito? This is live, folks. Bear with us. Look at all this. Okay, he's gonna throw sand on the floor right now and do a soft shoe. We grew up with vaudeville. Grunky, what was the last movie you saw at the movie house before everything closed down?
Uh, I can't even remember.
Big screen.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to remember. See, I would have to go to maybe a different area in Los Angeles to see the foreign films. And so it was probably a blockbuster type of movie, which I usually.
Godzilla versus King Kong.
Well, I did see that.
And Godzilla, King Kong. Bad.
Yeah, well, the kids. The movies that have these kids that know everything, I just can't take. So I saw maybe about 10 minutes and I thought, these kids are the star of the movie. I have to go away from it. So I didn't. Okay. But you mentioned War of the Worlds, and that was something that was an important film because Paramount had this richness of color in it. Mm-hmm. And richness of color was something that stayed with me. It had almost a pop feeling to the color. And this is before Warhol. This is
right
54,
50s.
Yeah. So to me, I tried to emulate color in my paintings. So it was Vincent Minnelli, Some Came Running. It was the Red Lips. Burger also played an important part in my work. So now we're going to go with Surito. I think he solved the problem and is going to show more of the studio.
Excellent.
Okay. So, can you see the studio?
I do not see it yet. I see that beautiful piece behind you, but no.
There is the drawing table, which is something I use every day, not only for eating, but for the daily drawings. And it gets my mind to work at the very beginning of the day. So it's quite an accumulation of a lot of drawings and paintings. And this is the kitchen area of the, it's not a kitchen room, but a kitchen area of the studio. There's my refrigerator bookshelf right there. Just took the doors off of the refrigerator.
Is that David Garza's guitar? Is it?
Yeah, that's David Garza's guitar and Ricky's guitar.
Nice.
And here's another lipstick painting right behind here. And then we go into a more dramatic area.
Wow.
These are Tormenta paintings, large pieces. And then you have a whole back wall that is one single piece. Again, the shapes and forms. That one is going to the Corel Gallery, I believe, sometime for a show that I'm doing there. Then you have the No Movie Award. And right below here.
And the giant pencil.
And a giant pencil that Ed made, my assistant. Then you have the set design for an opera called Ana de Mar, which was at the Santa Fe Opera House. Then traveled to New York, went to Lincoln Center, and then to Madrid, Spain. And then you have my courtyard that you could see through the window here, and the fainting couch, which is a place of that we all needed this past year.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
And then we have the tank that I did for a show that was, well, it was an opera originally, and then I recreated the opera assault vehicle, and it became this tank. And you can see more stuff on the studio. And you can go out into the courtyard. So this is the courtyard, which is where I have the daily coffee during the day, but I can also have meals in the evening as well. It's a lot larger. It has like an outside area as well.
And Grunky, how long have you been there now?
30 years.
Wow.
It feels like it. So this is a little nook. So money is
conversation corner.
Decided to come back downtown.
Yes. There's a claw.
And there's a claw, yes.
Where are the little silver shoes?
Oh.
Then there's the Criterion Collection.
Some more artwork. This is one of my 2020 mask pieces. I'm doing a series of 20 masks in these glass boxes. And this is the back of the studio, and another painting that I did directly onto the wall of the studio. And my shoes from Guatemala. And my upstairs loft.
How many square feet?
My rent will go up if I tell you.
Okay. You're just creative with your space.
Yeah. I try to find as many little areas.
The last time you had an open studio, about how many people showed up, would you say?
Oh, I think the biggest crowd was about 500.
But I love the idea
the last one.
Oh, Bat Whisperer. Hold that shot. I love that. That one. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I missed all that.
Ceramic plates that I did, and this guy named Pieces.
More bats. Wow. So tell us, what do you plan to do for the rest of the day? Is it going to be a work day, or is the work part over for you? Or tell me what you're going to do.
What was the question?
I'm curious as to how you're going to spend the rest of your day. Believe it or not, I'm at work. I'm working right now.
Work?
This is work. What are you going to do the rest of the day? Is it over? Or are you going to barely start doing your work, or tell us?
I haven't started work today because I couldn't sleep because I knew this was going to happen. So I had to clean up my studio a bit.
It looks fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for a little while it'll look like this. But once I start working, things start flying all over the studio.
Right.
So the rest of the day will probably just be doing some more drawing to begin my day, actually. And yeah, sit in the have a burrito, simple things, simple
I
pleasure.
love it. I love it. So what projects do you have coming up? Are you doing any collaborations? I saw you and Gus Harper are always working on something.
Indeed. Yeah, I have perhaps a show maybe at the end of the year. I'm not quite sure. Maybe next year. Um, and that's about it. The opera was cut short. Um, that I was talking with Peter about.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things were put on hold this past year, and
Yeah.
everybody's kind of waiting for things to revive a little bit more. But I'm a very bad gallery type artist. Um, I'm not comfortable in a gallery type setting. I think you know me that I don't even like to go to openings. I don't like to be a part of that whole mechanism of art that happens to artists. So I kind of stay away from a lot of things. And luckily, I'm able to be here in the studio and just daily turn things out, make things. And so there are no real. I was looking forward to the show at the Craft Contemporary because it's kind of the first time people will be able to see these pieces and see what I've been working on since the last time I was there, which was 3-4 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's catch-up time, I think, for many people who are not familiar with what I've been doing for the past almost 20 years now. So yeah, I'm just here and finding new materials to work on, like the clay, like adding the clay to the painting. It's all a process. It's a long process making these choices
Mm-hmm.
that you material that you have that is around. Even the art supply stores were closed for a while as well. So you had to order paper. You had to have them delivered.
Right.
So I ran out of certain items, and now some of the art supply places that I go to are open again. So I get to take a more leisurely time and look at a pen.
A tube of paint. Somebody is asking if there is a gift shop attached to your studio because they want a T-shirt.
Well,
some GRONK merch. They're interested in GRONK merch.
There is named Solito who's doing my tech today, and he has a lot of T-shirts available. This is actually not one of his.
I know. I don't. Here, pull it down this way. I have no idea.
Okay, that's kind of like a sandwich in Norway. So
okay.
You would know that this is a piece of bread with a sweaty piece of cheese and a paper on top of it. That
is a backpack.
Yeah.
Somebody is asking about Tormenta. There's a question about who is that mysterious woman that pops up in your paintings. Yes, the famous figure of the woman in black.
Well, actually, Marisela Norte played Tormenta's evil sister at one point.
I did. I sell a boat.
But she saved Tormenta by Tormenta grabbing onto her hump and swimming to New York. Incredible times.
Yes, they were.
But Tormenta will always have her back to the viewer. I wanted to create a mythological character. I wanted to create a woman figure that was strong, that took center stage, was not a pushover, and that we could only see her from the back. Because initially, when I was doing my notes, which I do again daily, all I had was a circle, a triangle encased in a square. Now, the circle, the square, and the triangle are the building blocks of design. So I thought, well, that could also be a character, a person. I'd like to start with it in the beginning stages of seeing what I could possibly do with it. But then to create a mythological character, it took years and years and years. And then people were saying, oh, it's this woman. Well, now I'm kind of just relying pretty much on the shape. And she has these arms that are kind of missing. But initially, it was mostly about shapes and forms. And I thought the back can reveal as much as what's up front in a person initially. And so that's kind of why, again, repeat, repeat, and repeat till it becomes something that you want to attach a narrative to. So she's kind of like, for me, somebody that I've had in my paintings because I've enjoyed that I can do many different narratives to her or it, depending on how you take a look at it. You know, there was, I think I told the story about how there was a designer, costume designer named Valentina in the 1920s and 30s. She said, never dress for the season, dress for the century. For me, that dress is something that crosses over time. And I wanted something that was simple, elegant. You could be strong, but also you can have a sense of beauty and elegance to it as well. So for me, it's in keeping. And I'm not going to eliminate it from my vocabulary because she is kind of for me, or it, kind of for me, a letter in my alphabet. You have to assemble several letters to form a word, let alone a sentence, let alone your story. So it's an accumulation over time. Is there another question?
There is. What is that? It says, tell GRONK the show with me is in October of this year.
Oh, October of this year. Okay.
Yeah.
Show.
Get to work.
Where's it?
What is this? Is this a layers of it? Does GRONK have a set date for it? Oh, somebody wants to know, do you have a set date for your next open studio? Or is that
We're kind
up to
waiting on
Joe Loria? Joe Loria, thank you for your question.
Yeah, we're waiting on when people, I think, become a little bit more comfortable. Because like I said, sometimes it gets crowded.
Right.
And so I think, you know, we were thinking of having one for the summer, and it depends on how things turn out for everybody. And
okay.
So yeah, I miss those because they made me clean up my studio again, and so that people can maneuver through the studio. But I miss the conversations, meeting with friends that you haven't seen for a while, and so yeah, those hopefully will come back soon.
Love it. And I'm off now that I'm back to work. I'm off on Monday and Tuesday. So just let me know when a good day is and I'll meet you and Tanner for coffee.
Sounds
and
good.
I can return all your movies. Somebody wants to know if you would like to share what your rituals are before you get down to paint and to draw or to draw.
Well, the first ritual is getting out of bed in the morning. Don't sleep in one place in the studio. So as you saw in your walkthrough, there are many areas that I can fall asleep in. I always thought a bed was like a coffin, so I didn't want to stay in one place. So I sleep on the sofa, I sleep on a real bed, I sleep on the fainting couch, and I go up to the loft area and another little small area. So in the morning, it depends on where I wake up,
Hmm.
with a cup of coffee, sit outside, gather some ideas, and then have that first drawing of the day. And that is a daily practice because for me, drawing, painting, or even anything in the arts, it's a discipline. And if you don't play that piano, if you don't like continually do it constantly, your fingers go dry, your imagination goes dry. A
Right.
really important part of it is learning from each thing that you, each art piece, each painting, each drawing. You take that information because sometimes I'm surprised by what I create. I'll see something and then all of a sudden analyze it, not to the point where it's, oh, very Freudian or anything like that. It's more about the dynamics of how life is at the moment in time that we are all here and alive, and me just these insights into the way I perceive the world. So I think, I learned from the experience of actually drawing. I've learned to, the more I do, the more I'm capable of kind of reading what it is that I do a little bit better than when I initially started.
Hmm. So I'm going to wrap up our questions. There's just a few more here on my list. What's on the reading table right now?
Let me go.
I'm always interested in what you're reading. I'm always interested in what you're reading. As GRONK runs to his reading table, folks, thank you everyone for attending today. This has been a real treat because I have not seen my friend in a year and I miss him terribly, and I can't wait till he comes and surprises me and shows up at the museum. And also, again, just to say, we're open Thursdays through Sundays. Tomorrow is a pay what you can day if you're not a member of the museum. Ah, here he is. What you got? I can't see. Tell me titles.
The Origin of Stars and Other Stories. Footage Even as We Speak. The She series. The Mermaid at the American Arms Hotel. Master Singer's Dream. So Quick, Bright Things. This is by Gail.
Gail Ronsky.
And this is her husband, Chuck.
Chuck Rosenthal. Yeah, he just got a really nice write-up on something. That's beautiful.
So I was rereading a couple of these books. So they're by my one of the beds that I sleep in. So those are kind of a collection of books from the Glass Table Collective, which actually did a reading at the museum the last time I was there.
That's right. That's been, oh my gosh, like 4 years ago or something. Sheesh. Okay, so one more question, GRONK. What are you going to watch tonight? I'm just curious. I'm watching Hour of the, and he's running to his movie shelf now. I am returning Hour of the Wolf, I promise. And Double Life of Veronique, I watch it one more time, and then I'm giving it back. Ooh.
No regrets for our youth.
None.
What? One Wonderful Sunday.
Oh.
Woman in the Dunes, and Happy.
Love it.
So
very nice.
On my table for films to put in, but I watch when I do have time the British baking show.
Okay, I never would have thought, but that's great. British baking, Norwegian crime, they kind of go together. I like that.
Combined.
Why not?
Yeah, and you got me.
Why not? Doll people.
Doll people, yeah. I posted that today.
Oh my God. Oh, I know. I this is a question for me. Have you watched Bellas de Noche, the documentary?
Yes. I have friends that repeatedly watch watch that over and over and over again.
It has to be a monthly watch for me. I'm completely obsessed with Rosy Mendoza. What is Olga Briskin, the great Olga Briskin, who I got to see at the $1 Million?
And
She says, no, she says, you think that your youth is going to last forever, and it's actually the shortest part of your life. Okay, I'm done here now, folks. Thank you. Loved that documentary. Loved it, loved it. I'm so glad you saw it so we could talk about it.
Well, Lynn May, also, who's still around. And
I know. I know. I was me quedé asombrada completely. It just killed me. I was so thrilled. So people are looking at your work right now. Excuse me. Come here. Do you want to say hi to Grunk? Yeah. Yeah, he's right there. There's Grunky. Thank you. So folks, wrapping this up, thank you so much to Andres Payan, my coworker, my comrade, who I've also missed, and to Surito for doing tech. Otherwise, it would have been me on my phone without this beautiful light here. And Grunky, thank you so much. I'll text you. I'll let you know when a good day is, but let's meet up.
Good to see you, everybody. Thank you for.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all